I used to be a theater kid. Felt like that was information I should disclose with you. Welcome, everyone, to Millennial Made. My name is Rod, and I am on my fourth cup of coffee for the day. So if I have a panic attack mid-recording, don't be alarmed. It's just my caffeine dependency. Hold on. Let's all drink a cup of coffee together. 1, 2, 3. It's really good. So I have two different types of coffee that I drink. It's my takeout coffee, which is obviously iced coffee all the time. But if I make coffee at home, I do make hot coffee at home. I don't like making iced coffee at home because that's the joy I get out of going to purchase a cup of coffee. And I am trying to cut down on that. But when I make it at home, I do a couple things. I get this really good, it's like a cinnamon oat milk creamer, and it's from Khalifa Farms. This is not an ad, but I'll pour a little dab in there, and then I take some vanilla protein drink, and I use that as well, and then I mix it together, and it's really warm, and it's nice, and it tastes really yummy. So if you try it, let me know. I want to just quickly say thank you to everyone last week who messaged me after listening to the episode and gave me feedback and gave me things that they were excited that I talked about. They want me to talk more about. A lot of people sent guests and other podcast guests that they think I should have. Most of my podcast recordings done with guests are in person. So if you know anyone Chicago local, but I got one suggestion for a podcast name, and it was the Rod Squad. And I think that sounds a little self-indulgent. So I'm opening to other ones, but otherwise for now, we're just going to call it Rod Squad. I also am really open to hearing what other types of podcasts you listen to, because as I'm doing research and kind of figuring out how to grow this and how to format my podcast and what I like, what I don't like, and I re-listened to my podcast. Obviously, the only podcasts I had ever really listened to were true crime podcasts, being My Favorite Murder, and then Dr. Death. But My Favorite Murder is my most consistent one. I Am a Murderino, as they call it. Karen and Georgia, I love them so much. But again, like I said, I'm open to hear what else you're listening to. And the reason I pause there is I'm just wondering what the millennial fascination is with true crime. So if any millennial therapists out there know the answer to that, please tell me. And another quick thing I wanted to talk about is I want to have a couple corners, as we call it, or maybe like a segment. I don't like the word segment. Segment sounds very industry. Yeah, I guess the word for segment for now. If you have a better word than segment, let me know. But what I wanted to talk about was my hyperfixation of the week. And what that means is the thing this week that I will hyperfixate on until I am tired of it. Could be music, could be a TV show. This week it was food. And I just started eating these churro strips from Siete Chips. And again, not an ad. I actually do really like this company, though. It's this grain-free tortilla chip that's headquartered in Austin. And they have these churro strips. And they're very reminiscent of like Taco Bell cinnamon twists mixed with Cinnamon Toast Crunch. And then what I do is I take some 2% Greek yogurt, take some honey, take some cinnamon, and some chocolate chips, and I mix all of that together. And then I use the churro strips as a dip for that. And let me tell you, friends, it is life-changing. It is, like I said, my hyperfixation of the week. So I challenge you to try it. Go to your local grocery store. Support a company that actually gives back a lot too. I really like this company, Siete Chips. And again, not an ad. Just a company that I've indulged in for a long time. Things that happened on the internet this week that I want to talk about. Number one, Drew Barrymore loves the rain, apparently. She has posted it a couple times, but this week it went a little bit more viral than normal, where she's challenging, let me figure out what Drew Barrymore, exact quote from our queen. And Drew Barrymore is an angel. I did have the chance to meet her in real life, and that's not a flex. That's just gratefulness to all of you. So thank you so much. Okay. Jerry Bormer's love of rain goes viral. Like Hillary Duff once said, let the rain fall down and wake my dreams from come clean. So I got to give it back to our queen. Okay, here we go. I'm not sure. Also, if you didn't know this, Drew Barrymore, obviously she's living in New York now. She has her talk show. Her talk show is great. She's so uplifting and so kind. But she's been renovating this spot, and she just found a window. And she's a Pisces, so this makes total sense. But she found this window that was behind like drywall, and she goes, I knew there was a window here, and started crying. It was just really interesting because it's like, okay, so that just brought her a lot of joy. So it's really cool to see someone so genuine have a lot of joy for something like finding a hidden window. For me, it would be more of an annoyance. I'd be like, great, so that's why my air bill is so high. It's because I have an extra window here that I didn't know about. Classic New York. But what she did with the rain was she went out into the rain and said, whenever you can, go out into the rain. Do not miss the opportunity. Run out in the rain. Don't miss the opportunity. And she's laughing and she's crying. She takes off her glasses. It's really a moment. And it's honestly a moment that you would see probably on one of her movies, which I thought was really genuine as well. That's something that happened on the internet this week that interested me. Another thing that happened on the internet this week that I wanted to talk about was J-Lo and Ben getting married, finally. Jennifer Affleck changed her name. Jennifer Lopez, wow, automatically came out. Jennifer Lopez, Ben Affleck got married this week, and I think what happened was they saw the movie Elvis, which if you haven't seen Elvis was insane to me. Austin Butler. Did I talk about this last week, guys? I have the memory of a pigeon, maybe pigeons have good memory. What's something let's figure out. What's something that has bad memory? Animal. I'm also a Gemini, so that could be why. Animal that has bad memory. Because top 10 animals with the worst memory in the world. Chimpanzee, bees, baboons, a hamster, seals, giraffes. That's probably what I'm closest with. A sloth. Well, that doesn't surprise me. Turkey. Ooh, terrifying. Ostrich. Snakes. So let's just say I have a memory of a giraffe where I don't remember anything. So if I repeat something in this podcast, I apologize because anyway, go see Elvis. Really good movie. But I think that what happened was Jennifer and Ben went to see Elvis and they said, oh my God, look, they got married in Vegas and it was such a moment. We need to do the same thing, because if you look at what J-Lo looked like on her wedding day, it was giving very much Priscilla Presley. You know, the 70s hair with the thick pullback right here and then the wavy hair. Ben was wearing a white tuxedo. And a couple things I wanted to note is that I had no idea Ben Affleck's middle name was Gaze. It's Ben Gaze Affleck, which is very, you learn a lot about someone from their marriage certificate, I found out. But congrats to the happy couple. We're so proud of you. And if you listen to this podcast, literally why? And I'm honored. So anyways, something really interesting happened to me this week that I thought it would be funny to talk about, because first I talk a lot about people being put into boxes that they don't want to be put in. And this isn't like the box theory or anything like that. I think it's like the societal box, right? That we as millennials were taught, like, this is what men should do. This is what women should do, which obviously we've seen a lot of norm, I guess is a better way of putting it, breaking, but I like to say the word box. So a lot of these boxes are being broken into, which is great. And like barriers being taken down, glass ceilings, like we talk a lot about. But I was doing this shoot this weekend and they asked what music I was into, and naturally I said Britney Spears, please. It was a Christmas photo shoot, so it was very I needed in that moment Britney's Christmas album. And the guy who was controlling the music got clearly aggravated with me and said, ugh, people are going to see that I listen to this. And so what? Literally, so what? I never understood the toxic masculinity. You could taste it. I never understood the idea of why it is so important to separate yourself when you are in a situation that you could be perceived different than what society wants you to be. Whether it is your voice. I don't have the deepest voice. I'm not the most masculine person. And I find myself, and this happened again on the same shoot, actually, I was talking to this guy who had a really deep voice, and I naturally found here, let's do this. I'll turn on my masculine voice for you right now. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think what's most important is that you take a look further at yourself, figure out who you want to be rather than what society wants you to be. You heard the clear difference in my voice there, which, going back to Elvis, Austin Butler has lived in Elvis's voice for 2 years and probably never going to stop. But I thought that was really interesting because even looking at kids, there's this like why were we taught at such a young age, men or boys who are going to be men have to like the color blue and girls have to like the color pink. If a boy likes the color pink, that doesn't mean anything. It's a color. Regardless of religion, if you believe in the Bible doesn't say men cannot like pink. I think pink's a great color. My favorite color I would have to say is black because it hides my body dysmorphia, which we'll get into later. But yeah, I thought that was a really interesting take from something I experienced this week, and just to kind of give you guys a real thought there. If you have a preconceived notion of how someone should be, just think to yourself, where did that come from? Right? If you see a man walking down the street wearing pink sandals, okay, like what? In what world does that change anything about them as a human? So why can't we all be individuals? I have this bracelet that says "Just Me" on it that I got, and I think it's really telling because it's like that. This is just me. What's the difference in being who I want to be? Like I said, I did want to talk a little bit about body dysmorphia this week because it was really interesting growing up in the 90s and 2000s with this idea of diet culture. And I'm not sure if you saw it, and what spurred it on is on Hulu. I haven't watched it yet, but I saw an ad for it. Victoria's Secret fashion show. I know that there was a lot of talk around that, and that did create a lot of body dysmorphia in women and men, I'm sure. But I do feel like as a man, sometimes I'm not entitled to talk about it, but I do think it's comforting just knowing that everyone goes through it, right? But this idea of body dysmorphia. And to give you guys context, I was 350 pounds at one point. Now I'm sitting at like 230. I used to be 170 though, so I went through this really big weight loss, and my body dysmorphia is higher now than it's ever been, which is kind of crazy to think about when I've, what people say accomplished in this amount of time. But with the thought of this diet culture from the 90s, we were fed this intense notion that in order to fit into society, you have to look a certain way. And I face that all the time. I walked into an Abercrombie and Fitch in 2006 because that's where everyone shopped. And I want to preface this: Abercrombie has, new ownership, and there's a really interesting documentary about the former owner of Abercrombie who has said really fatphobic and homophobic things, I'm pretty sure, which is really interesting to me. And he said that everyone should, and the only people that should wear Abercrombie clothes should be attractive people, and everyone's attractive because we were all made as a human. So why should anyone be elevated more than someone else? All let's say Abercrombie has taken waves, and they're under new ownership and under new executives, and I think they are a lot more inclusive, and I'm really excited to see what they do there. And I think it's been a really good marketing strategy to kind of rebrand themselves as like, hey, actually we know, like they've owned that they used to not be for everyone, and now they want to be for everyone, which I think is very interesting. In 2006, I was walking into an Abercrombie, and I was buying a gift for someone else. I knew that I couldn't fit into any of their clothes, clearly, because I was at the time XXL. And the look on the model, they were called models there, and even not the people just in front shirtless, but someone else. The model looked at me like I still to this day don't think I've ever been looked at like that, and said, not even 2 steps in, "We don't have anything for you here." And I thought to myself, I'm like, do I say back, I'm getting a gift for someone else? Do I say anything back to her, or do I walk away? And obviously knowing myself, I just nodded my head and walked out. Pure embarrassment. There were people around. That was very defining point for me. And, the reason I'm bringing this up is we have been raised with these different ideas of how we should look. in the 90s and 2000s. We talk about sample sizing all the time, and I do think we are in a very formative time, and I really want to thank social media for that and thank TikTok. And I think it's really interesting to see the types of people on TikTok who are kind of breaking the norms of how someone should look, and just like All Bodies and Victoria's Secret even did the same thing rebranding this year, where I think they knew this documentary was coming out, and they took a marketing turn where they are creating something for all bodies. But I thought it'd be kind of interesting to go through the different types of diets or fads from that time, if we're talking about nostalgia, and just to let you know, you weren't alone too. I know body dysmorphia isn't just for people who are fat. It is for people who, there are people who are on a different end with the eating disorder. It's really interesting. Some of my favorites, let's just hop right in. Probably one of the most famous fad diets from that time was the Atkins diet. And it's so interesting because we would do anything to fit in an off-the-rack size back then, because Atkins diet, this article is really interesting. It's from soyummy.com. It says the Atkins diet is linked to higher risk of heart disease, which is so funny that we spent so much time trying to adapt to this lifestyle, and this lifestyle could actually kill us. A result of eating too few carbs and too much protein can lead to this. Plus, carbohydrates help the body absorb protein. And I also want to preface that every body is different too. How everybody processes food is different. How everybody reacts to working out is different. How everybody, if you do want to lose weight for a certain reason, and I want to give this advice: if you want to lose weight, do it. If it's for you. And I know it's easier said than done. Hopefully, you are speaking with a therapist or an expert. They can, you can be a little bit more open with them too, and why, but do it for yourself. I know for me, my weight loss wasn't for myself, but then when I found that it was for myself was when I had a healthy relationship with it. I went from one spectrum of an eating disorder to another, where I would binge eat over when I was overweight, and then I was borderline anorexic on the other side. And so, trigger warning for anyone listening. I guess I should have prefaced with that. I'll throw it on the description here. But yeah, you're doing it for yourself. So once you have the mindset that you are doing it for yourself, that's going to change the entire mentality around your eating habits, and creating a healthy relationship with food too. Because I was depriving myself. I wasn't having fun. My friends didn't find me as fun anymore. My grandma's really funny. My Greek grandma told me, because I denied a second plate of food at Thanksgiving, and she goes, "You're no fun anymore." And I'm like, that's a toxic mindset, to think that I'm linked to my weight. But another good one, South Beach diet. South Beach diet allows processed vegetable oils that are high in omega-6 fatty acids. And while those are essential, the average person already gets enough. But no, everyone is... The reason for these diets as well was for the economy, was for money. I bet you the people who created the South Beach diet were not doing the South Beach diet. It was a book. I vividly remember the cover of the book. I think it had blue on it, and it was the South Beach diet. My mom had it. My mom was a big one into the fad diets, and she's kind of the same thing where once she created like a healthy relationship with food, she was a lot better with it. Slim Fast, if we're going to talk about a good one, liquid diets. At one point, Slim Fast held 70% market share. Sales of meal replacement shakes also brought in $1.3 billion in 1990, and this is according to the Washington Post. That is insane, and these are still very prevalent today, because I know low-carb diets, keto, and a lot of things like that. I even talked about with my coffee. I do put a protein drink in my coffee. It's not my only consumption, though. Another one was the Zone diet. Do you remember that? I think there was specific color containers you put your food in, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think that was it. Another one was the cabbage soup diet. I remember this one a lot. Magazines like Cosmo and Gentleman's Quarterly GQ also published the diet in the mid-1990s, so it was a big press release. Aside from feeling exhausted and weak, you'll also feel gassy and bloated thanks to all that cabbage. Yeah, cabbage makes me burp. It's nasty. Actually, I generally do like sauerkraut. which is weird. But I don't like it like the hot sauerkraut. I like it like we're just like plain. So I'm from Chicago. Get a Polish, a nice Polish. What you do is you take the Polish and you take some caramelized onion, you put the caramelized onion, and then you put some sauerkraut and you get some brown mustard. You put some brown mustard on, and that's how you eat your Polish. And that's where I like to eat sauerkraut. But yeah, I'm gassy after that, because why would you not be? Weight Watchers was another big one. Oh my God. Weight Watchers would sell these books, and they were like binded books. I remember that you would flip through and then you would pick recipes, or this was before like smartphones or apps where you can scan a product and see what points they were. I remember my mom wouldn't eat anything that Weight Watchers didn't have in their booklets because she couldn't flip and see what points they were, and they would add up to her daily points. And it was like a game almost. I thought that was a really interesting diet. And just overall, I remember the frozen meals of like Lean Cuisine, Healthy Choice. But do you remember the Lean Cuisine paninis? What it was the box that this panini came in. It was open faced. You would open the panini box, you would flip it over, and then on the back side there was this like gray something, and you would put the panini, frozen panini, open faced on this gray thing. You would pop it in the microwave for 3 to 4 minutes. It would come out, and the underneath would be toasted, and then you would have to eat it within 30 seconds. Burn the roof of your mouth, or else the bread from the panini would turn into stone, rock hard stone. And I have often thought about this. What science, first of all, created that, and is it ingestible? Were we supposed to put that into our bodies? Probably not. Did we anyway? 100 million, 1,000% we did. I saw this commercial I was even thinking about baked Lays, and I'm not sure if you guys remember baked Lays, but it was very defining part, I think, for the millennial generation. I think about 2001, 2, baked Lays started coming out, and I would eat an entire bag in one sitting with barbecue sauce. So good. And the commercial for baked Lays were supermodels. I think like Naomi Campbell was one of them. I think Giselle might have been another one of them, playing poker. And this is just a lot of red flags because it was misogynistic. It was fatphobic. It was so bad. They were playing poker, and they were eating baked Lays. But it was like in a dark room. It looked like it was set in, like a poker room that men would be playing with their cigars and all this stuff. But it was, I think the tagline was like, baked Lays feel like a man while eating like a woman, or something like that. I'm like, that is such a toxic mindset. And you would be canceled for that. Now that is a really toxic mindset. It was this idea of like, oh, if you're a woman, you have to eat baked Lays, which I'm sure led to so many people, overthinking about what type of food they ate. But that was put on mainstream media. Another commercial that I have been thinking about a lot lately was the Britney Spears, Beyonce pink Pepsi commercial, which I think needs to make a marketing reboot. I think it'd be so epic if those three came together, because I haven't heard of any beef between the three of them. Came together for another commercial set in a Coliseum, and it was "We Will Rock You." The was playing in a Coliseum, and it was set, Roman times, early AD, I would assume, and there's animals and the gladiator type thing. And it was Britney Spears walks out wearing gladiator outfit. Pink is in there as well. Beyonce's in there as well. And they start singing "We Will Rock You." And then I think there was like a Pepsi cooler in the middle or something. And they start drinking Pepsi. And the Roman emperor was Enrique Iglesias, which I didn't discover until I rewatched this commercial more recently, which I thought was really funny. But, that commercial was really iconic. I think that should make some sort of comeback. Do you remember when back in the day we used to make our Facebook statuses like our mood of the day? And they were so chaotic and so unhinged. I remember mine was like, Rod is feeling tired today. The next day, Rod is having an existential crisis and wondering the point of his life on this earth. And then the next day would be, Rod is listening to Over My Head, Prince's Cable Car by The Fray for the 10th time. That was definitely a hyperfixation for me back then, was The Fray. I really miss how easy those times were too. That was when social media was easy and social media was nice. Well, yeah. I mean, cyberbullying was a thing though. like, chat rooms and all that. But nothing like what we have today. Am I right? Yeah. And I think growing up as a millennial is just such an interesting experience because we've helped form a lot of the things that happen today. I'm sure the generation before us could have said the same thing, but social media changed the literal world because you are able to connect with complete strangers, and that is thanks to the internet. And 90s kids, I truly think that is why we are so kind of, I know that generations before us, like what made millennials so bitter or what made millennials so like, I feel like they can do whatever they want. And I think that's more Gen Z than millennials. But I think it is because we were put through so much with the internet and like how we should live our lives, people telling us, but now with social media, we see how other people live their lives and now we know we can live our lives a certain way. So why would we want to continue to do that? Like this idea that you need to do what you're doing for a living straight out of college is absolutely insane to me. Like I went to school to be a teacher and now I'm obviously working in marketing. I was in sales before this, and it is wild to me that we had to decide, I think it was like between junior and senior year, we even took quizzes on what career we should follow. That was so crazy to me. And I know some people that did that. And you go to your guidance counselor, they should be like, oh, what do you like to do for fun? It's like, I like to cook. I like to do this. I like to do that. And they'd say, okay, well, you should look at being a chef or being a teacher. I'm like, well, I guess I'll be a teacher. And so I decided when I was a senior in high school, I would be a teacher. And I know people change their major throughout college, but even then, it's like those 4 years, your brains aren't fully developed even, and you're deciding the path for the rest of your life. So I do think that this whole like idea of like getting experience, or not having a degree in your field is a very hot take, and I think kind of a bad take in society today, because why would we not, pursue what we're passionate about rather than dropping 40 grand in another college degree? If you have the experience, or you can gain the experience through trade. And I think that is why it's interesting. A lot less people are going to college now, and they are still pursuing a career in corporate, and they're actually, succeeding in it, because we've realized that like this notion that the 4 years you take in college, most people were partying. A lot of people were, taking, like I said, like classes that they're not even using today. It's just such an interesting notion. But once again, just want to thank everyone for being a part of this community, for listening to this podcast. There's a lot of growth that's going to happen here in the next couple months, and it sounds like you guys are liking the solo episodes. Don't forget that you can watch these on YouTube as well. I like to have fun on YouTube with it. Some graphics. It's nice to throw on your TV. Please send to me or tag me. I'll repost you if you are listening to it. Screen record your favorite part of it. I would love to hear what your favorite parts of each episode are, and because I suck at feedback. I'm bad with feedback, as we know. But I like to hear feedback, so I think that's the only way you're going to get better is with feedback. So yes, please let me know. Would love to hear from you guys on what you enjoy hearing. Slack channel is in the works, so don't worry about that. We will get the Slack channel up and running so we can have more real-time conversation. Once again, thank you so much for listening, watching to Millennial Made. My name is Rod, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.